Lord, I love the house where you live, the place where your glory dwells. There's a destination I seek. Will you walk with me where your hidden mysteries are brought to life? Behind every passion, there is a purpose. And in that purpose lies identity. Show me the way. Guide my feet. And help me never to forget the journey that led me there. I seek a destination, one that will last forever.
We've brought you several stories on Captain Chip Micallef of Outcast Sport Fishing, but his latest feat is quite the tale. 5 straight weeks without even spotting one. Regardless, they hit the water with low temps. Crew set out to land a great white shark, feeling a little
exclusive. Take a look at this video off Hilton Head Island Tuesday night. 2,500-pound great white shark. 2,500 pounds.
In all, the crew hooked 7 great whites and tagged 4 in just
14 feet. Micallef says that if you start here on the boat and you make your way down towards the end, once you get to this spot, that's how big this
that last go around landed what's believed to be the largest great white male ever tagged in the Atlantic. 15
It was
feet long,
insane. We actually fought great whites longer than we were waiting for them. I mean, it was just, it was wild. As soon as we tagged one.
But tonight, Louisville native Chip Micallef is the most talked about fishing captain in the country. This week, off the coast of
like a train,
South Carolina.
and the biggest shark I've ever seen jumps out of the water, completely out of the water. Customer standing on the other side, just about had a heart attack.
And it didn't take long for the reel to start clicking again and again and again.
The largest great white to be caught off the Atlantic coast using just a rod and reel in 30 years.
It's pulling this 5,000-pound boat like a cork to the water.
From the crew's perspective, the length of that shark is about from where I'm standing all the way to the end of Outcast.
It kind of takes your breath away how large of
Kevin, this is the boat that Micallef reeled in that 2,500-pound shark on just late last night.
1,600-pound female. He gave an even more meaningful name, Charlie. You'll remember this message.
Shark fisherman continues to reach major milestones off the coast of South
Sharks,
Carolina.
he tags them and he releases them so that they can be studied.
You know, that the
Micallef
streak
says
is
he's
over.
naming this, again, 2,500-pound, 14-footer. He's naming it Wildcat because he's from Kentucky.
We got the anchor and started chasing, and then we were off. Then we were chasing all over the ocean for.
Now he says that reel that he used is a special reel custom fitted for these massive fish. that he brings in. We'll hear more from him on this incredible catch coming up tonight at 11. But for now, live in Hilton Head, I'm Amanda Foster, WJCL 22.
For now, reporting on Hilton Head Island, Riley Miller, WJCL 22 News.
Yeah, I think what's incredible about Chip's story, here you've got a young little guy from Kentucky coming down here to go charter fishing with his mom and dad, and it just, the whole thing just sticks to him, gets into his genetic makeup, and from then on, that's all he can think about. And I remember when we went out with Chip, and we caught a pretty sizable black tip shark back in the day, and this was a long time ago. Chip was little and I didn't have as much gray hair, but we brought that thing into the boat, which we don't usually do now, brought it in the boat, and Chip was so scared that he ran up on the boat and he was like terrified. Now picture that now. You got a guy that's a little boy that's terrified of this shark coming in the boat, and he's out holding on to the nose of a 2,500-pound great white. I mean, what the heck?
I was obsessed with the water here, obsessed. And you know, to be halfway decent at anything, you've got to be full into it. You got to have passion like no other. And my passion was always towards sharks. My obsession was always towards sharks. And you know, I went through a phase I loved sailfish and tarpon and king mackerel, but there is something about putting a carcass out there and you don't know whether it's going to be 50 pounds that comes up to the boat or is it going to be 3,000 pounds. The unknown. You're fishing for something that is almost as big as the boat. You're fishing for something that you've only seen in the movies.
I mean, Chip's, I guess you could probably say, I don't know if obsessed is the right word.
Developed a passion for it, you know, at a very young age, and turned out to be like the most successful great white fisherman on the East Coast. I mean, you know, you can't make that up.
You know, for years and years, growing up here, no, we don't have any great whites here. You got to go to Australia, you got to go to California, you got to go South Africa, and you know, nobody thought they were here, but I knew it. I knew when I was in high school and I would see these big turtles wash up on the beach and there were half moons cut out of them. And those were tiger sharks. I knew that those were great white sharks.
Chip decided that he was going to go out, he was going to find these things out there. He was looking at some tagging data and looking where they were in the summer and looking where they go in the winter. And he decided that he was going to find the intersection, he was going to find that highway out there where they were. You know what the chances of that are.
Just kept plugging in the numbers, plugging in. And towards my last couple of years trying to figure it out, before I finally saw one, I knew I was getting close. And I remember going out before we hooked one and just so aggravated. I knew I was getting closer and closer even though I wasn't seeing one. People were seeing them. And nobody had hooked one yet, but there were definitely sightings. I saw the videos and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so close, man. So close I can taste it.
Chip and I, we were neighbors for probably a little over 20 years. And you know, he'd be out doing his charter fishing and I'd see him at the end of the day and I'd be coming home from work and we'd have the friendly chat, but it was, you know, most of the time just, hey, how was your day? How you doing? And then finally one evening I came home and I saw Chip and he was just out in the parking lot and he was just kind of stirring around. And as he was stirring around, I noticed something was different with him. So I got out of the truck and I asked him, I said, Chip, how you doing? And he said, real quick, he said, they're there.
First time I ever saw one, I was by myself and it changed me. It was amazing. I'm not 100 miles offshore. I'm not in California. I'm not in Australia. I'm right here off Hilton Head. I just couldn't believe it.
It was like he'd seen a ghost. And so I asked him, I said, what do you mean they're there? He said, white sharks are here. And what he had been doing is he'd been going out in the winter and looking for these sharks without any complete, you know, evidence that they were there. And the beautiful thing was that day he had been out by himself and a shark had come up, he had hooked up onto it, and he knew then that the sharks were here.
I think the incredible thing and the tenacity of Chip is he knew they were there. He spent like 3 or 4 years going out by himself, you know, in the middle of winter. Nobody would go with him. And he finally hooked the first one by himself.
The cool thing about that day, and I think the reason why it really truly affected Chip, was because he was out there by himself. If he would have been out there with a couple of buddies and the fish would have come by, it would have been a lot like those videos that you see where someone says, "Oh my gosh, look at that, there's a shark." And they all take the video and the video sort of goes out. That message is kind of spread out. But with Chip being alone, the beautiful thing was that message didn't go out. It didn't become popular. It came in and became powerful. And with that, that fish sort of started swimming in Chip's blood.
It changed everything. It changed my life. I mean, the phone started ringing uncontrollably. It just, you know, it's, I don't know, words can't express what it feels like sitting out there and one of these monsters comes swimming up to the boat and it doesn't want the bait. It's more interested in the boat than it is the bait. It's just, it's like a feeling like no other.
You come into a fishery, into a state where the wildlife people don't know anything about this fish. Biologists don't know anything about it. There's no history of the fishery, and you're coming in at a time when, you know, modern technology and depth finders and fish finders and fishing rods and reels are at its height, and nobody knew that this was here. And Chip peeled the skin off the onion and discovered this gem, and it's like, it's incredible for me and for all the other charter boat guys around. And we were going, you got to be kidding.
It's not the regular type charter, you know, to go out and catch a tarpon. This is a whole nother animal.
I just know based on going out with him, the bunch of times that I have, how much time he spends prepping. It's a ton of time getting bait. It's a ton of time that he puts into, you know, getting all his gear together and making sure everything's right. And then looking at the weather, looking at the tides, looking at pretty much everything before he goes out. And then once you do go out, I mean, it's a long day. You're leaving, you're getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're not getting back till probably sometimes 11 o'clock at night. Then you gotta unload everything, clean the boat. So only a passionate or crazy person would go through all the trouble to do all that.
The preparation that goes into this isn't like anything else. The preparation starts 2 days prior. You're gassing up the boat, you're getting the hooks sharp, you're putting new line on the reel. It's definitely a lot more time consuming than your regular fishing trip. You're fishing for one fish all day long. You're looking for one guy. You don't get another chance.
When we're doing this in the wintertime. There's a certain water temperature that Chip's looking for, and you know, you're investing an entire day in this because you're getting down there to the dock at, you know, when I say what time is push off, he'll say, you know, 5:30, 6 a.m. So you're getting up at 4 and you're packing a lunch, and you know, you are showing up at the dock. You're alone out there. Nobody in the wintertime is pushing off at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. So a couple times there's even been ice on the dock, you know, when it's 28 or 30 degrees on those rare winter days that we have. And I'm sure that if anybody saw us out there, they'd think we were crazy. But, you know, I guess when you get a fish swimming in your blood, these are the things you do.
You know, we're leaving, it's pitch black, and you're just heading out in the blackness, and eventually, you know, we could be out there for an hour or so before the sun starts coming up. And I don't know, it's hard to describe when you see the sun rising over the ocean, and it goes from just completely black, and you just see the little hint of sunlight, you know, rising over the horizon, and you're just, you know, you're going out to just catch something potentially massive that most people will never see. It's a life-changing experience.
It's dark, and you know, you're bundled up and you're just kind of quietly riding out. There's not much chatter about it. And then off to your east, you see the glow starting to show up, and the sunrise comes up, and hopefully you got a smooth ride out. And when that color and that glow hits you, it just, you know, one of those beautiful moments that confirms why you're doing what you're doing. It's beyond the fish at that point. It's the sky, it's the water, it's the sound, it's the salt. It's just everything hitting you and just making you just be real happy that you're out there and you're part of the journey. It's just one of those things when you're out there and you're watching him work and pick these spots, you are just a small little piece of this big world. And it's humbling, and it really is it's one of those times that lets you search inside yourself and who you are, and be thankful that you're there, but at the same time know that you're just a small part in this beautiful world, and you're just looking to make that little part your own for that day.
I'm here with the world's greatest shark hunter and conservationist, Captain Chip Micallef. Chip,
That's quite an
what's up, my
introduction,
man? Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
We're somewhere, I can't tell you where we are, we're somewhere in the ocean.
Somewhere in the Atlantic, somewhere in the middle of the ocean,
That's right.
just waiting for Jaws.
Yes, and Chip has caught, he's the only guy in the world that catches great whites.
Adult great whites on rod and reel. Only one in the world right now catching, these giants on tackle that, you catch tuna and tarpon and cobia and redfish with. A lot of people are using grappling hooks and big buoys and so forth. But yeah, we're going kind of the old school way and doing the rod and reel scene. And it's amazing. It's amazing to be out here. Look at this. Now we got a school dolphin show.
So, and Chip, what you do is, so we bring these massive animals here. We take the hook out. Not with our hands, but look at this. With special equipment. And then you work with science. Tell us about how you
do. So I teamed up with these scientists in Cape Cod and Massachusetts, all in that area. And what I'm doing is we're putting satellite tags on these guys, acoustic tags, pop-up tags. And these fish are swimming away with a lot of material on them, expensive stuff, NASA type equipment to figure out where these guys go, what depths they like, what water temps they like. So we're learning a ton. We're learning more about great whites in the last couple of years than we have in history.
Look at that. Look at Chip.
Look at that, huh?
And sadly, it's just the way it is in nature. Great whites eat those things.
Oh yeah, we're in a good spot. We've got dolphin around the boat. We got the chum rolling.
Yes.
Woohoo!
We got the fish whistle, the cigar, the fish whistle.
That's right.
Chip, some of these some of these great fish you've caught over 3,000 pounds plus, maybe 4,000.
Yeah, we've hooked a couple of them over 3,000, 3,500 pound range. We got two, a lot of them in the 2,000 to 2,600 pound range. So
that's
got
ridiculous.
a lot. I know. I say it's.
And tell us how wide are we talking about?
We're massive. Right? I mean, it's 3/4 the size of this boat. The width, the girth on these things are just so huge that I can't even tell you. You have to see it for yourself and the camera doesn't.
I'm so fired up. I cannot. I mean, I'm like, whoa. Okay, so the great white, you said
highly intelligent. Highly intelligent. It's the only fish that I've ever seen that takes the bait, runs, and then he says, you know what? I'm not going to run my energy. Something's going on here. And he'll turn around, spin around, and start chomping at the leader. He starts chomping.
He'll try to bite the line.
Yeah, comes back at the boat, charges the boat, and chomps at it. So he knows what's going on. He's not like these other fish that just run until they wear out. They conserve energy, and they try to free themselves. And we're not out here killing them. I'm pulling on the side of the boat. We're putting some sophisticated equipment on them, and then we're cutting loose. So, but it is wild to see.
And Chip, you were telling me too. This is interesting. You learn more with failure. How'd you say that? Than victory.
Man, that? You know, when you win, it builds confidence, and when you lose, you learn. And we lost a lot. I went out with chum for 12 hours and would lose. You go home, okay, this water temperature, this spot, you put a chart together on failure and wins. The days we failed and the days that we won. And when you lose, man, you get a lot smarter. But if we get a giant today, I'm not looking at that stuff. We're going to go home, we're going to celebrate, have a great dinner.
Exactly.
But if we lose, then the wheels spin. So it is a learning experience.
King
we're
of the
not
ocean.
in Africa, man. We're
we're
in
not.
South Carolina.
We're in South Carolina, somewhere in the ocean. 26-foot boat, having a good time. Burnt offering.
Appreciate you coming out, bud. Appreciate it.
Who's the man? You kidding me? It's a trip of a lifetime.
Everything connected to this fish. He's gone.
Perfect hook set. Perfect hook set. Look at that right there. The first big shark I ever landed, not the small one, but the first adult. It was just kind of like a revenge on some people who said it never happened. I caught about an 8-footer, it was my first one, and it was small, and I got pictures of it, and nobody believed me. Even the papers, I posted on Facebook, nobody believed that it happened. They said, well, do you have pictures of you in the video or you in the, in the picture? And I'm like, what do you think? I'm gonna jump in the water and swim with this thing? So nobody believed me. It was wild. So the next one we caught, it happened to be a giant. This thing was huge. Huge adult white shark, jumps all the way out of the water.
Chip and another gentleman were out there fighting this thing for 3 or 4 hours. It's getting dark. They know they can't finish this thing. They're both spent. I mean, their arms are just like dropping.
And Troy's wearing down, I'm wearing down. We're both so exhausted.
They're still fighting this fish. They're getting further offshore. They called everybody in the world, and it's like you get a call from Chip and you're like, it's Chip. I think it's late at night. Maybe he needs something. He's offshore. I think I'll call him in the morning. But there was one guy that answered the phone.
There's one person that's really going to be really good at this.
And that was Captain Johnny Brackett.
If I call John Brackett, he's a fisherman. He's bulky. He's got a boat that can come out here, and he's a photographer as well. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to call John Brackett. He'll come out here.
Johnny was eating dinner at the boathouse. Chip called him and said, where are you? I got this huge great white on, my first great white. I need help. Johnny said, I'm coming, baby. So he pushed his dinner aside, ran down to his boat, and jumped on it.
I was telling my buddy Troy, just hang on, we got help on the way.
Ran offshore to find Chip.
He flies out to me, he jumps on my boat and drops his anchor right as he gets on my boat.
This is an amazing story now. He threw his anchor down, anchored his boat. Chip's got the great white on, backs up to John's boat. John jumps on Chip's boat. And now they're all three of them are in there, and they said, good, we're glad you're here.
And he grabs the rod, he says, Chip, I'm good, we're gonna be good.
They strapped him in, he's fighting it. He said 5 minutes, he was like, guys, I can't take this. You're gonna have to take the rod back.
We finally get up to the side of the boat. Brackett grabs his camera, some high-dollar camera, and this time I wanted to get the shot I wanted, the shot I needed. So I reached out, put my hand on the nose, and it was so dark out, all his cameras were made for the daytime, so it turned out kind of fuzzy. But we got the shot, got this shark swimming, put a tag in it, pushed it away, and it was just incredible.
It was incredible. I mean, talk about timing and people being in the right place at the right time. It's crazy how all this stuff comes together. But the wild thing is that's the story's not over yet. They put the anchor down on John's boat, but they couldn't remember exactly where they anchored it.
When John Brackett got on my boat, the sun was still relatively up. So we're looking for his boat in the middle of the night now.
So now it's pitch black dark, and they have to follow Chip's GPS back in.
I didn't really mark it on the GPS, so we're just kind of scanning the area. It's pitch black. And to see a grown man on the front of my boat calling his boat saying, Sweet Pea, Sweet Pea, where are you, Sweet Pea? I wish I recorded that part. It was absolutely hilarious. I mean, we just fought this 15-foot white shark, and now we're looking for a damn boat called Sweet Pea in the middle of the ocean, with no lights on it.
And sure enough, there's the Sweet Pea out there without any lights on. They put him back on the boat, headed back to shore.
We found his boat, and he jumps on the boat. We go back home.
You know what? It's never easy. You think it's going to be a little easier. It's never easy. The first one's the hardest one to get.
The day we hooked 7, that was the best day of my life, I think. We were hitting home runs every 20, 30, 45 minutes. It was wild.
That was probably one of the most exhausting days I ever had. Again, that was a day we probably were up at 3 in the morning. I don't think I got home till 11 o'clock midnight that night.
I mean, everybody was worn out, and I'm wired. I'm ready to go. Of course, I'm not battling these things like everybody else, but I'm still locked and loaded and plenty of bait on the boat.
I think for the whole next day I was just like in bed in pain. My back was just was so torn up.
You know, I've never experienced a day like that in my entire life. Just from sun up to sundown, it was constant action. We constantly had a fish on. And I don't know about the other guys, but I kept checking myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming, that I wasn't still in bed, because it didn't even seem real. I mean, 4 great whites in one day. But what really made us appreciate that day and what happened that day was what led up to it.
The trip before that, we got skunked. So we're all down and out thinking, are we gonna get skunked again? Because it's wintertime, you know, we usually get one every trip. And so to go out there and get that first one, and then another, and then another, and another, it was wild, man. That was something else. That was a day I'll never forget.
I mean, I don't know like what kind of records that we set that day, you know, but apparently, you know, we were the only people that have done that. I can't confirm that, but I'm under the impression that that's never been done before.
To hook 7 great whites in one day and tag 4, I mean, that just doesn't even seem logical.
Man, the records that day, I had one guy from California. He's an old-time fisherman. He called me up just out of the blue and said, I thought I was the only one that's ever landed 2 white sharks on rod and reel in the world, you know, and for us to hook 7, we put 4 tags out that day. I mean, that was wild. It was just on fire. We were just in the groove, and nothing was gonna slow us down but exhaustion. So we pulled into this area that I wanted to try, and there's the little signs of life. There's a turtle over here, a bird over here, sunfish. Haven't seen a sunfish in years, so that was cool. And you know, it's starting to look better, starting to feel more confident about it. And we get lines out, get the chum rolling, and lo and behold, here's a shadow coming up right behind the boat. Pat's working his butt off. He's cranking down on this fish, keeping the pressure on. He's not making any mistakes. We're switching the rods off, keeping everybody fresh. We're putting John on it, putting Taylor on it, putting it back on Patrick. We're keeping fresh bodies on this fish. Finally it was him. I just can't explain how exciting it is to see that guy again with the big eyes and the pointy nose. I mean, it's like, all right, now we're back in the game. We're back in the game. I think we found him. You know, the monkey's off my back, so it was awesome to see.
We've already got a tag in the shark, and it's time to let him go. So Chip takes a bead hooker, pops the hook out his mouth. We watch his shark swim off healthy. We all look around at each other, and we are fired up.
I don't think there's a better adrenaline rush than anything in the world, especially when you go out and you get skunked 3 straight times, and when you see that first shark come up, that white shark, and he comes up and it just kind of solidifies, all right, that's him. That's what we're looking for. That's what we want, and the adrenaline rush is insane.
You know, I can't really explain it, but there is definitely something in the air that day. You almost got a sixth sense that this day's not over and this story's not done telling itself.
How about it? We on again! Yes! So we get this second great white on the line, and I'm just going nuts. I'm so excited. Everybody's wound up. The exhaustion isn't really setting in quite yet because this fish is big. I've been talking to Taylor about getting in the water with these sharks, and I gave him the thumbs up. He jumps in, gets some awesome clips. When he's in the water getting these pictures, he's getting awesome film and stuff. And I said, you know what? You want to push her off? Go ahead. She's good. She's not aggressive. She's ready to roll. And he got behind her and pushed her off, and it was just, I tell you, that not many people can do that. Not many people can say they've shoved off a great white shark and just watch it swim off into the blue.
One thing I'll never forget, and it happened right before I jumped in. We were all standing on the side of the boat, and Chip, he's got this shark leadered, and we're all standing to the left, and he looks up at us and he tells us who he's gonna name this shark after. And man, I remember there being a moment of silence on that boat.
And I really couldn't think of anything better to name it than Charlie. And Charlie is a girl that was killed in a car accident that year, and you know, it really shook up the island. It really, she was a child of the island, a daughter of the island. The parents were fantastic, and it was just a very, very sad moment. I just wanted to do something that would make the parents smile.
Once the story got out, I remember Charlie's mom being interviewed by the news, and I'll never forget what she said to the reporters. She said, "Charlie's gonna live on through this shark and travel the oceans." It wasn't long after that I came across a Bible verse, and it was Revelations 22:1, and it said, "Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, as clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb." Every time it brings me back to that moment where we were watching Charlie swim off. And I think it's so true. Charlie lives on, and I think that's what made this shark so special.
So we're on another one, and it's just, this day is not going to end. This is leading up to be the best day of my life. You know, John's got a lot of experience catching makos and threshers, but you know, nothing will train you to battle fish of this size. They're tired, I'm tired, and we get this guy up on the side of the boat, and what people don't realize is Frank Mundus was the original guy who caught great white sharks in the Atlantic. He was the first one. He figured it out. He started catching some giants there off Montauk, New York. And people don't also realize that he's the guy that Jaws was made after. He's the guy in Jaws named Quint. It's so similar. The boat, the barrels, his drinking problem, the way he spoke, sharp-tongued, that's him. And that day we passed him, and I couldn't think of any other name than Frank, naming one after him. It was a defining moment, I think, that day, especially that shark. So at this point, we've hooked multiple sharks. We've put several tags out. My crew's starting to kind of fade on me. Chip, let's go back in. Let's grab dinner. Let's celebrate. It's been an amazing day. Let's head on in. And I'm thinking, you know, it's early. It's only 2:30, 3 o'clock. Let's just set up one more time. Let's just get the chum rolling, put the balloons out. We're waiting. And I see a big fish come up. It's the biggest one of the day. And what are the odds? We're exhausted. We are whipped. And this thing took off, came out of the water, went nuts, and your adrenaline is sky high again. You're alive. We're back in the groove. Everybody's passing the rod off. We're all doing our thing. We all got a job.
There you go. Enjoy that.
Almost have it secured, and takes off. Makes another run. It's just, and I'll never forget. Pat looks over at me like, you got to be kidding me. We got the fish back in, and it was just, man, it was time to pop the corks. It was amazing, you know, I mean, it's not very often you see a fish, you know, over 2,000 pounds, much less of this size. And I look over and see the claspers, like this is definitely the largest male I've ever caught. And this may be the largest male ever tagged. We do some measurements, we get back in, we do a full workup on them. Turned out to be the largest male white shark ever tagged in the Atlantic. And I mean, that's awesome, you know. So we're cutting edge when it comes to science out there. And now that we're putting tags in the largest of certain species, I mean, it doesn't get any better. This is kind of just icing on the cake. And let me tell you something, you release that many fish and you see what we saw that day. I mean, the celebration and tagging 4 in one day, hooking the 7, putting 4 tags out. I mean, I can't tell you how excited I was. I mean, I was on cloud nine. We were all going nuts, and it was just, man, it was icing on the cake. That last one was perfect, and the celebration went all the way to the dock. And there's no feeling like it. I can't imagine having the adrenaline rush and the celebration. And there's just something about working this hard towards something and it all happens. Everything comes together. Because there's plenty of days we failed, we wait all day and we lose them or we don't see them. But everything, the crosshairs came together that day, and it just was like one of those afternoons where nothing could go wrong. It was just a perfect afternoon.
One day, in particular, was out with Chip and Captain John Werner, and we hooked onto a nice female white shark. It was mid-size, I would say, probably 9 or 10, maybe 11 feet, but it wasn't a small fish, it wasn't a big fish. It was really a perfect fish to handle beside the boat. And when we hooked that fish up, it probably only fought for 20 minutes. It was a very, I mean, these fish kind of act different. Each one of them has sort of a personality, and this fish was beside the boat within 20 minutes, and it was very calm next to the boat, and we were able to put that tag in probably within 15 minutes. And I would say from the time we hooked that fish to we released it, it swam away healthy, and it was under 40 minutes. So anyway, that was a real nice fish. It was a good memory. And on the way in, Chip brings up the conversation about what we should possibly name this fish. And you can associate a name with these tags, and it's kind of a neat thing the way they do that. And he mentioned it's possible that if he didn't mind if we possibly named it after my wife, Amy. And I think the reason he did that was because Chip's mother had a battle with cancer. And my wife was sort of on that same journey. As soon as we got married, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and Chip was there to support us through that whole thing. And he said, why don't we name this shark Amy after your wife in honor of her battle with her breast cancer? And I was like, of course, that would be beautiful. So he set all the details up, and he got in touch with the guys up at Cape, and he filed in the name of that shark to be called Amy. Well, what I did not do when I got home that night, I didn't tell my wife anything about it. And so the next day, he contacts the Island Packet, and I guess in a couple of days, there's going to be an article out explaining that we had caught a shark, we had tagged it, and we had named it after my wife, Amy, in her honor of her breast cancer. And I was inside the house that morning, and I was just kind of in the kitchen, and all of a sudden my wife was upstairs, and I heard her just sort of scream. And she says, I got a fish, I got a fish. And you know, not telling her about the article was kind of pleased to see that she was excited about it. And if you think about it, you know, a lot of people say that, you know, once you go through cancer or once you have cancer, you become a survivor. That's a common word used in all cancer patients, is survival. And, you know, after all your treatments and your surgeries are over with, you kind of wonder what you're surviving for. And I can tell you right now that that moment that I was in my house and I heard Amy screaming up in her bedroom that Chip had chose to honor her and her battle with cancer by naming that fish Amy was a moment that I'll never forget. And it was truly a moment that proves why Amy was a survivor, and that is exactly what she was surviving for. So it was a beautiful moment, and I thank Chip for that from the bottom of my heart.
So when I got Taylor to do this, I was like, okay, we're gonna go out and we're gonna get a giant, but every single time I take him, we end up catching an 8-footer or a 10-footer or a 7 or a couple of 6s or a 7. I wanted him to get something big. I wanted a 14, 15, 16-footer. And every time he took that day off, we went out there. I take a couple of old friends out there, wham, we get a 3,000-pound shark. He comes the next couple, Taylor goes the next 2 days, and it's 8-footer, 8-footer, 8-footer. So we decided to go an extra season just because I really wanted some footage of that big one. He's got all the equipment, the drones, the underwater gear, and so I really wanted that giant on the side of the boat, something he could use his stuff instead of mine, because it seems like a majority of our stuff was the small white sharks instead of the enormous, the jaws that I wanted. We had a good start to the season. We're getting multiple a day, and everything's looking bright. And just like every season we hit a little bit of a drought where we go out and things don't look right. The water temperature is not right. The water clarity got dirty on us. You know, the bait moves out. You know, things just didn't look right. So we get into this drought and we're running out of time. And I want Taylor to film this monster. I needed the crosshairs to get on that one day in the calendar. We're getting low on time. My charter season's getting ready to start. These other sharks are moving into the area. Water's heating up. All the ones I've tagged are moving north. So we're in the bottom of the 9th inning and with 2 outs, and we get out there and it all came together. We got the wind going one way, we got the tide going the other, everything's kind of messed up, and Taylor puts the drone up to just film some bait that was hanging out near the boat, and here comes the giant shadow moving in. He's got the drone up, and the shark takes the balloon right under the drone, and he got it. He got the shot. We're back on cloud 9. We were in the dumps, and now this fish hits, and we're lit up. This thing's going crazy. I got 2 guys on the boat that have never handled anything this big. I've got Taylor he's a seasoned vet, but he's got the drone up. So I tell Taylor, get the drone down. You're gonna have to land this damn thing and help us out. Let's get the anchor. We gotta chase this thing now. We got to get on them. It's chaos. It's controlled chaos is what it is, and you're just trying to absorb everything about this moment because you don't know when it's gonna happen again. Insane! Insane! Wait a whole day for that one bite.
We got to say, Mel.
So what I noticed, this shark isn't like the other ones. This guy's spending almost the whole battle on the surface. We're just trying to be in the moment at this point, and it's amazing to be connected to the baddest creature the ocean has ever seen. We're connected to this guy. We get this guy finally to the side of the boat, and lo and behold, we get the camera on him, and the hook goes flying. We lose this guy. We don't get a tag in him, but we got some footage. We had an awesome time, and if there is a video in the dictionary of living, this is it. This right here is it, and it's been an amazing experience, and I don't know, what's next winter gonna bring?
Captain Chip, through his hard work, through his fishing, and through everything he's done, and his love of the sport, he's really set the bar high. You know, he's not only developed this fishery, he's caught these fish, but he's shown everybody else an important lesson. That is to strive to understand what's there through research. You can be a sport fisherman, you can catch things on rod and reel, and you can still be, ethical. You can still preserve everything for the next little kid that comes down from Kentucky that wants to be a charter boat captain.
Chip's doing something special. I mean, I think he's caught over 30 great white sharks. So, I mean, to catch 30 white sharks on rod and reel is something truly amazing, and to be a small part of that, that's a blessing.
You can obviously see that Chip has the passion. His passion is evolving. His passion is now, catching these apex predators. And he looks back and he knows where he's been, but to be honest, no one knows where they're going. They just know that they were chosen to be this person. There really weren't any accidents in this journey. If you look back on it, everything happened for a reason. Everything had a purpose. Every turn he made had a reason to change the direction of the next day. And that was the beautiful thing that you could say was on Chip's journey, is that passion led him to the next day, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And once again, you don't know where you're going to go with this journey, but him being a pioneer of these white sharks, it's going to be somewhere that you'll want to stick around and see where it ends. I think we all do, and we're fortunate to be a part of it.
It's absolutely amazing what Chip's done, and obviously his accomplishments speak for themselves, but the thing that has impressed me the most about Chip is his journey. If you look at his journey from where he started to where he is now, I mean, I don't even think words do it justice. I mean, this guy just kept going out there year after year after year, and he kept failing. And I feel like most people in that situation would have given up. They would have thrown in the towel and they would have given in to that fear of failure. But that's not what Chip did. Instead, he chose to persevere, kick the dust off, and come back twice as hard. And he wasn't going to stop until he took his hand and put it on the nose of a white shark, and that's exactly what he did. And, you know, when I was in high school, my old baseball coach, Randy McGarvey, he used to constantly ask us this question. He'd say, boys, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to win? How bad do you want to accomplish your goals and what you're setting out to do? But most importantly, how bad do you want to be the best version of yourselves, not just on the field, but in everyday life? And you know, I see so much of that in Chip. You know, you got to have a lot of heart and a lot of determination and just a lot of guts and willpower to just keep grinding and going after it and just not accepting failure. And, you know, I absolutely think the world of him. He's a great guy. He's a top-notch fisherman, and he's by far one of the best storytellers I've ever listened to in my life. We'd be out there on the boat all day, and you just hear these crazy off-the-wall stories. I mean, it's like 24/7 live entertainment. You're like, it's stories you can't even make up. And that's definitely been one of my favorite things out of this whole entire experience is just, you know, just being out there, being in the moment, just having good fellowship with the guys. And it's just been a blessing to be a part of this. And, you know, I think that everybody's got a story to tell. And we just thought Chip's story was too good not to tell. And we just wanted to share it with everybody. So, you know, I can't wait to see what the next chapter holds for Chip and what he's doing.
This whole deal, I'll cry, man. I'll start crying if I start talking about this too deep. But this whole deal has been, I mean, it's a dream come true. I mean, born in Kentucky, chasing crawfish and bluegill and bass and frogs and, you know, coming to Hilton Head. And I mean, being a charter fisherman is already a dream come true. And then to, you know, to be catching the baddest fish on the planet, it's been wild. From working with the top people in the field. I got the top photographer, Taylor. I got the top scientists. I got the best crew. So, man, this is just it's a dream come true. And there's many times I wake up thinking, you know, how do I put myself in this position? We spent a lot of days out there from sunrise to sunset getting skunked. You know, it's like that old quote, you know, when you lose, you get better. And man, we lost a lot. There were so many days out there where I just couldn't believe we didn't see one. And the process of getting closer and closer to making that dream come true. And you know, the goal was only to see one. But then once I saw one, it's so cool, you gotta see it again. So we just kept going back and back. And you know, just lucky enough to work with the top scientists in the world on this. Dr. Scommel, Dr. Chisholm, all these people that I've worked with that I've learned so much from. You know, it's been an amazing process. And there's been a lot of aggravating moments when I thought I was close and it just didn't happen. You know, 10 hours on the water, working, studying charts, studying film, studying migration routes, talking to people that, you know, had a sighting in Charleston or Florida or Myrtle Beach and asking them, bugging them, what was the water temperature? What was the depth? What was the time of year? What did it act like? You know, can I see the video? There's no talent. It's just obsession, you know, just coming out here and studying. And I think it's been positive for everybody, and I don't know what to say. I could just keep pouring out my heart till I cry, but it's been amazing. Thank you. Outcast out.